Hey everyone, Andrew Michaels here, host of that show you somehow tolerate and are about to listen to. I'm just here to let you know that you, yes you, can be a part of the Underworld News Tonight New Year's special. We're looking for some stories that happened in the past year that fall into the categories of the weird, wacky, wild, supernatural, all the sorts of things that we usually cover, but might not have for whatever reason this year. What we want you to do is head on over to our subreddit, that is reddit.com/r/underworldnewspod, that is Underworld News Pod, all one word, no underbars or whatever the fuck they're called. Comment in the sticky thread asking for these stories, and if we like them, we will go ahead and read them on the air. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, thank you so much for participating, and enjoy the show. Also, there were a few issues with Jason's audio this week because he was traveling, but that's all right. We will get through it together. On the record. Right. That's the last thing I need.
No.
We need to bring back... I honestly... All right. I do think that if there were more mob involvement in the podcasting industry, I think I could get in good. I think I could get some good mob backing, be the kind of Sinatra, the Jutalian Sinatra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of podcasting, yeah. Of course.
Right. What would that make me? Can I be the Dean Martin of podcasting?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. What did Dean Martin do? Drive,
drunk all
right?
the time. Do I?
Well, so you have to fucking have a few beers. Look at all these crazy drivers on the road.
Right. Yeah. It really relaxes me and helps me focus more on my driving.
I was talking to my wife about this last night. I actually think the 1950s were the golden age of day drinking, like the 50s and 60s, because people talk about like the way back in the past when people were drinking literally all the time because the water would kill you. And regardless of how true that is, I know a bunch of people are going to be like, that's not true. People drank water or whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter what I say on this show, but also, if you're drinking wheat beer all the time, you're not really drunk. You're just kind of sick all the time.
I can attest to that.
Right? Whereas in the 1950s, there was specifically the blackout zone, but the blackout zone ends at like 10:30 a.m. But you do have to be up at 7 because you got to drive to work, right? So you got to get up at 7 a.m., drive to work. You do have to deal with a 2-hour hangover.
Right.
But after that, it's fucking open season from early lunch on. And I've been an 11 a.m. lunch guy without drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always
that's pretty early if I was doing work. I mean, on vacation, fuck it. But days that I have to work, I usually don't start drinking until 1 or 2.
Well, I mean, what's your job again? You're a surgeon, right?
Yes, yeah. I am
sense.
Pediatric surgeon.
Pediatric surgeon.
I like to get a couple practice surgeries out of the way before I start hitting the martinis.
Exactly. You got to start with the kids that are already kind of fucked up.
Right.
Before because you don't want to ding up a future hottie.
I don't know how I feel about this.
Well, very conflicted about how he feels about this bit and begging me to move on. So we're going to go ahead and do that. This is Underworld News Tonight, where we take a look at the weird, wacky, and wild news of the week. I'm Andrew Michaels, joined by my co-host. Some have called him the male Princess Diana. I just call him Jason Strong.
Yeah. Yep. That's, I died and the royal family had me killed.
Well, allegedly. Let's not make any false allegations.
Yeah, they could come for me.
You never know. I think Philip faked his death. He's living on that island on Cuba with Tupac, Elvis, JFK.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. You think? I mean, yeah, that's kind of cool to imagine, but like they got to get on each other's nerves eventually, right? Like
Well,
they can't go there.
the thing that breaks the tension is they all switch off days that they spend getting their dick sucked by Hitler. That's the thing that the CIA doesn't want you to know.
Okay, okay. No, that actually makes a lot of sense. We'll dive right in here. Have you ever had to have an MRI?
I
I don't
haven't,
want to be
actually. So this is true. Uh,
Mhm.
and I'm now saying this on a recording. This specifically is true. It is not a
uh,
joke. I'm saying this on a recording, and I have talked about this with my loved ones, which is that I have a retainer, an inside the mouth retainer that was put in
mhm,
on me by a not very good orthodontist in New Jersey when I was 9, which I think is too young to put in or inside like
mhm,
a permanent retainer. Because what
mhm. And to be
happened
clear, I have apologized for that numerous times, but that's what you get for scheduling the appointment after 2 p.m.
Well, what I was gonna say is that because they did that. Oh man, because this orthodontist did that at age 9, my teeth like fused to my back teeth, so it's still in there. If I
Oh,
run my
yeah,
tongue over my back teeth, I can feel it. So I don't think I can get an MRI. I think my
yeah,
jaw would fly out, which would ruin the podcast or make it a lot better.
yeah. Could go either way.
It would save my
Um,
marriage.
um, no, and actually, yeah, we'll get to that. No, I only ever so I was supposed to get an MRI done. I was having trouble with my leg. Uh, Went to the appointment, got as far as like I was in the gown, laying on the bed on the MRI machine, and they started rolling me in, and I bailed. I'm claustrophobic, and as I was going into this little tube in the nightgown that the hospital gave me, I was just couldn't do it. Um,
I don't like the nightgowns.
no, I don't either.
They should give you a
Um,
choice of style.
right. Yeah, why can't I just have like shorts or like some kind of trunk?
That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
I
much more
think I think if they had I think like sweatpants would be good. I think like you should have to have a nightgown
comfortable.
if you're
Yeah,
in a position where they are likely to need quick butt access for whatever reason or to slice it off of you. But there are a
right.
lot of reasons to be in the hospital. You were there for your leg and the Mr. I.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, I was just curious because this story, the first story of today, comes to us from healthimaging.com.
Oh man.
Health imaging. Yeah, I check this site 7, 8 times a day. A woman doesn't give names or locations, probably for the best.
Yeah, it's probably good.
And for what HIPAA reasons.
I'm glad healthimaging.com respects the anonymity of their sources.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's the bastion of journalistic integrity. Thank
The
you,
last one we have left.
healthimaging.com.
And
They
and their work on Watergate, we can't forget about that.
no, right. Yeah. Yeah, it really laid the foundation for Woodward and Bernstein.
Who else was going to get that camera into the president's asshole?
Right. Yeah. No, God bless you. Healthimaging.com. 57-year-old woman was shot in the buttocks by her own gun when she brought it to her MRI appointment, which this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because, we mentioned like the gowns, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
when I went, I basically had to strip and I was in their little sort of papery gown. I, I don't know where she was keeping the handgun on
Well,
her person at that point.
well,
Um,
Jason,
it does, yeah.
I need you to think about it for a second. I do think you know.
Oh, mm, all right. um, Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So it does note that she checked no, on the intake form, saying she did not have any weapons on her or in her, as the case may be.
Yeah, that's the
Uh,
loophole.
so yeah. But yeah, when the MRI fired up, the gun discharged, shot her in the ass. Superficial wounds. She's going to be okay. It looks like, except maybe for mentally, whatever compulsion brought her to decide to carry a handgun into an MRI appointment.
Hey, you no, you should stay strapped at the fucking hospital.
Yeah, I guess you
You
never
know how
know.
many people die there?
Oh, that's true. No, you're right. Yeah, it could. Yeah, they're dropping like flies at the hospital. I personally
Exactly.
wouldn't go. Yeah, I wouldn't go to a hospital. Um, no, but it did get me curious about just MRI accidents in general. I
Hmm.
feel like I saw an action movie not too long ago where that was kind of part of the set piece. There was a gunfight in a hospital, and the hero flipped on the MRI machine so the bad guy's guns, uh,
Oh
you know,
man.
stuck to the magnet, and he was able to dispatch them. Um,
And then he gave the bad guy breast implants that he couldn't fucking have full range of motion on punches.
right. Yes. Yeah. And they were just uncomfortable in general and possibly leaking.
That's
Um,
exactly right.
yeah. Yeah. So I was curious about MRI accidents. Um, this 57-year-old woman was not the first person to be shot by their own gun because of an MRI. She's not even the first person this year. A gentleman in Brazil. Now he wasn't the patient; he was helping his mother. But the handgun he was carrying discharged and actually shot and killed him.
Wait,
Uh,
so you can was his hand like in the was he in the MRI machine too? How did his gun go off?
um, the the magnet that runs or that is behind the MRI, the M in MRI, magnetic
Mhm.
resonance imaging. Um, it's a 10-ton magnet. Says it's about 30,000 times as powerful as Earth's magnetic field, which communicates nothing to me, to be honest with you. But 200 times stronger than a common refrigerator magnet. So I have a little bit more of a sense. But
So what I'm getting from that, and sorry, I don't mean to interrupt,
no, no,
it, is that MRI doesn't stand for Mr. I.
not in this context. I mean, I guess it could. That would be maybe kind of a fun mascot for like a MRI manufacturer. Hey
Yeah,
kids, I'm MRI. Yeah,
don't remember, take the guns out of your ass before sliding on
right.
into me.
I'm 30 times more powerful than the Earth's magnetic field. Um, but no, with that powerful a magnet, yes, like anything, it sounds like within the room will be propelled towards the magnet once it's powered on. Um, there's another story again um, where a someone was actually killed when the MRI undergoing an MRI when they kicked the machine on. Uh, it jerked an oxygen tank across the room and crushed their head.
Oh shit.
Yeah, no. Um, Another story about a woman who was a, let's say, guest at her local county jail and had a medical emergency that necessitated an MRI. Um, the sheriff's deputies left her, in cuffs, and the man, that like belt. They had her, chained up.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
um, and yeah, she got when she went in, she got pinned to the because of her manacles, got pinned to the MRI for like 20 minutes. The deputies went in and tried to help her, but they were carrying guns, and because the gun on
Oh
their
my
belt, they
god.
got stuck on the MRI.
Dying in a
Um,
real fucking Holy shit!
The fire
I'm going
department.
fucking cartoons from the 1930s blind. Help me out here.
The fire department showed up to help, but couldn't go in the room because they're like, you know, they're firefighters. They show up to emergency. They're covered in metal, like metal
Yeah,
clasps. You know, but yeah, and even just generally, some people, some types of tattoos can cause like a burn. If you're getting an MRI, I guess they use a little bit of metal in the ink, but people report like burning. Hair extensions, same thing. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. These it just seems wild to me. Yeah, I had no idea that uh first of all, like an MRI appointment is so inherently dangerous that you have to be armed when you go there. And
Well, yeah,
secondly, that like, yeah, they just like, yeah, sucking shit to it.
that's fucking crazy. I mean, this is. You would just think, how long have we been doing MRIs now? Like 20 years, 30 years?
Yeah, it feels fairly recent.
Yeah, like they weren't doing MRIs in the 80s, were they?
Um, I don't think so. All right, now I'm actually looking. I'm
Yeah,
looking on Wikipedia. Hang on. Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, when I was a kid, I never had an MRI. I don't recall.
that's
Oh wait,
good.
no, it says development in the 70s and 80s.
Developed in the 70s and 80s, so
Development,
like
right?
normal
It
people
might have
weren't
been
getting them until at least the 90s.
that. That's probably, yeah. It was probably much more expensive. I mean, they're still pretty expensive. But yeah, probably much more expensive and harder to come by. So yeah,
You
yeah.
just think they'd come up with one that won't kill like 50% of the population by now.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just crazy. I had no. I mean, I knew obviously that they were magnetic, and again, having like gone to attempt to do one, I had to make sure I had no metal. I had to take out my Prince Albert and all that, but
Oh yeah.
uh, yeah, no idea that like they were that powerful that like they could fling an oxygen tank across the room.
No, that's insane. It's like the fucking Dr. Manhattan machine.
Right, right. Yeah, to my knowledge, in the very limited research I did not see anyone becoming a Doctor Manhattan.
Well,
Any
that's the
stories?
type of
Yeah,
thing they would cover up.
I guess that's true. I don't know a blue naked dude who has the power of God. You think that's something that
I
think that'd be easy to cover up?
I think they would. I think they could easily cover it up. Everyone has a price.
Hmm. Maybe he's on that island with who'd we say? Elvis,
Elvis,
Hitler.
uh, Hitler, Prince,
Um,
Prince,
oh
the
yeah,
fucking
right,
prince
right,
who died. God, I'm going dead guy blind. What's happening to me?
right. Prince Philip.
Prince Philip. Oh man,
Right. Yeah.
this is crazy. I keep forgetting all these names left and right. What if I got
Yeah.
diagnosed with fucking like early onset dementia right after this, and like this is the last episode of the show, and just the saddest fucking record?
I do honestly think about that. Like, man, if something were to happen to me,
Well, you're cutting
that
out right now because of I'm
this
leaving it in.
is this
You're
this would be the last thing that people will remember of me is
right.
talking about Bigfoots and MRI deaths and
Oh, and I would fucking use your image and
I'm
likeness for
cutting
all
out.
it's worth. It's so much easier. You would not have the ability to fight back on any of it. The fucking t-shirts, the in memoriams. Oh
Right.
man,
Mhm. Right.
because people, it'll be
No,
really sad too.
true. Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess it's how like in movies now they like what Christopher Reeve they put in the newest Flash movie and
They
the
put George
goofy
Reeves in the newest
latest
Flash movie.
Ghostbusters.
No, they
Oh,
put in the new
really?
Flash movie. They put George
Man.
Reeves, who do you know about George Reeves?
Uh-huh.
Literally, he played Superman in the TV show in the
Yes.
50s, and he fucking probably killed himself because, in large part, because of like
Yeah.
financial and depression issues that were largely caused by like being typecast as Superman to the point that he couldn't play in anything else. Because there was only
Yes.
one other role back then, and it was either, well, there were three roles
Right.
back then. It was Superman, Soldier, and Cowboy. And he couldn't play the other two, and he couldn't play Superman anymore, so he killed himself. And then they brought him back as an AI ghost in The Flash.
Yeah. I think that's pretty gross.
Yeah, but I think that
But
I mean, I
yeah.
just
No,
need you
his
to not die until I can get your AI voice going.
yeah, so you have like a specific list of words that you're just waiting for me to like organically say.
I would say if you were to
Mhm.
say something like, Andrew, we've been friends for years. You're my artistic inspiration. You're my muse. You're my
Mhm.
flame. Uh, and I guess that my last dying wish would be for people to buy Underworld News Tonight NFTs or non-fungible tokens, which they can find at underworldnewstonightnft.com. That would be good.
Yeah. Do we have those?
Uh, no, not yet. I'm
Oh,
waiting
but you're
for
anticipating.
certain things to
Yeah.
happen that would inflate the value.
Oh, right. Like say one of the hosts passing
Yeah,
away.
because right now, like, who gives a shit about this show, right?
Right. Right. But then if I die, it becomes like a Van Gogh painting that now all of a sudden they're worth a lot, even though during my life, um, never really paid out for me.
That's because he spent too much time sending his ears to sex workers. Uh, constructive criticism here. Spend more time painting.
Could you have spent that much more time though? I mean, you can kind of only do that 2 times,
Or you know what?
unless you like go get it.
I just think at a certain point, you got to think about how slicing your ear off is going to affect your networking opportunities.
Right.
It's like a face tattoo.
All right. Moving on. A little bit of a change in gears here. This story comes to us from the Mirror.
That's that
Uh,
thing my therapist keeps telling me I have to look into.
mm-hmm. Mirror.co.uk.
One of my
I think
favorite that
yeah,
my favorite
canonically.
website.
Yeah. Um, I just want to say right off the top, uh, more pop-up ads on this website than I've ever seen in my life.
Well, that's how
It
you
is
know the news is legit.
right. It's a real challenge to plow through this.
You know how I know a website is good?
Hmm.
When I see a pop-up ad for the website I'm already on.
Yes, right. Yeah.
I love when a
Yeah.
website physically gets in its own way multiple times.
Yeah.
You could give me your thing up top, that's fine, but after that, fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. This website is poopy garbage, especially looking at it on my phone.
But the
Because not
quality of
only
their
are
ghost
there the
journalism,
pop-up ads, there's also there's the ad for the app.
I love the ad for the app when I'm on desktop. That's also great. Uh,
Yeah, right.
like, we will say though, the website might not be good, but the Mirror, look, that's where we heard about ghost divorce. That's where we heard about
Uh-huh.
uh what were some other ghost hunting stories we heard there? The haunted doll that we did early on. We heard about it. That came from the
On a
Mirror.
doll. Right.
Yeah, haunted doll.
Um uh was the Royals and their ghosts, was that from
No, that was somewhere else.
oh.
But I mean, the point is, I've gotten a few ghost stories from the Mirror and a
Hmm.
few general oddity stories from the Mirror. So they are a fun website. It's a fun website as far as getting goofy tabloidy stories from.
Yeah. Hmm. I would agree. Um where was I at? Oh, I didn't even introduce the story. Uh so this story again comes to us mayor.co.uk. Thank you, Mayor. Uh, haunted pub boss, quote, lives in fear after being seriously hurt instead of spooky incidents.
This is he the haunted pub boss or the haunted pub owner? Manager or owner, I guess is what I'm saying.
it uses boss, manager, and landlord
And
interchangeably.
landlord. Ah, fuck. I guess landlord. That means you do own it. If you're the landlord, how are you your own fucking landlord? That's just owning your place.
Yeah, it's maybe it mean like connotes something different in the UK, but yeah,
God, with
I
their
wouldn't.
fucking titles.
And right, like um uh he's the boss slash manager slash owner of the Crown Inn
Hmm. Oh, of course,
in
fucking
lower Payover, Peover, Cheshire. And yeah, it does sound like when if you check into like you go to a motel or hotel,
mhm.
like a independently owned, that I don't know that I would describe the owner as the landlord, right?
Yeah,
Like
it'll be weird
that seems really
unless they have
weird.
long-term stays, and I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess some people live. Maybe it's a pub that he lives in, and then he owns. It's also a pub like restaurant, and there might or might not be rooms, but that's not the point.
Oh, I think I know what you're saying. Like maybe he lives like upstairs. He has like
Like
an
think
upstairs.
about how a priest lives next to a church, right? You know how the priest
Mhm.
gets the sad little like cuck house because they get to see other people have normal lives and they just live in like a little hut next to a church.
Right,
Uh
right.
it's the same. I think it's the same thing with like this land. This is what being a British pub owner is like.
Oh, it's like being a priest.
Yeah, you get your little house next to the pub. You get
Hmm.
to watch the people come and go.
Right. Just like
I
quiet,
love a British pub.
sobbing. Yeah. Um, yeah, no. Um,
Anyway, go on.
agreed. Yeah, sorry. Uh, Nigel Ramsey, again, manager slash boss slash landlord uh, slash supreme commander of the Crown Inn. Um, he was uh, hit in the head by a metal bar in the beer cellar, which required him to go to the hospital. He had a brief hospital stay. Uh, Credits it to hauntings, to ghosts. Um,
Can't
yeah,
be that you're not very good at upkeeping your own place.
yeah,
I hate to say anything bad about the
right,
manager slash owner slash landlord slash supreme commander slash grand general pub daddy, but that would
um,
be my criticism.
right. No, that does seem like the Occam's razor explanation that. Well, I guess he was a landlord, so maybe he isn't putting a lot of effort into. But yeah, I'll get around to putting those smoke detectors in. Um,
Like damn ghost.
right. uh, yeah, it says here, he bought the pub. Um, there were spooky happenings. You know, glasses moving on their own accord, being thrown on the floor, um, swaying, glasses swaying on their own, TV remotes flying around. Which actually, now that I read this, maybe there's an MRI machine somewhere.
That's what I was just thinking. If only somebody, I hate to say it, if only someone had a gun. Sadly, they're illegal there.
Yeah, yeah. No one in the UK can have a gun.
Slingshots only.
Yep. Uh, yeah, it says Mr. Ramsey shares his experiences with the psychic medium. Um, it says they were from the Ghosts of Britain paranormal team. I don't know. I don't know what
Oh,
this
we
is.
no, we've covered them before. I think we covered them during the haunted doll story.
You know what? I
Uh
think you're right.
I
Are
don't. I'm not about these. This is more acceptable ghost hunting because yeah, like
mhm.
this is someone else's pub now, and he lives there. This is more acceptable. Generally, I think they do the type of shit of going to graveyards. Yes, if you go to the graveyard at night, there's gonna be a ghost. Visit mom in the morning. You know.
Right. It also,
Point is, I don't
it
like that
goes
they
on to,
disturb ghosts in their natural habitat.
yeah, right. No, that makes sense. Yeah, it does seem like a little intrusive or like a looky-loo, you show up and yeah,
Looky
sort of
loo.
taunt
How would you
them.
define a looky loo? I hear people say that all the time. What's a looky loo?
I guess what I think of um, a looky-loo, I guess, is someone who, all right, say you're driving, right? Traffic
Mhm.
slows down. There's been an accident. A looky-loo is the person up front, the first car that slows everyone down because they have to crawl by and try to see, like, figure out exactly what happened. Like there's some sort of like forensic detective.
Oh, that makes sense. I thought it was a British person who watches other people take shits Chuck Berry style.
Oh, you know what? I don't know. Should we email the mirror and ask him?
Yeah, let's ask. Like, I do think it might mean
Maybe it'll
different
give
things
us
over
some
there.
clarity.
It's like how fanny over here means ass, but over there means
Right,
pussy.
right. Mm, hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I was the one that used that. I don't see the term looky loo in the article at all.
Well,
Um,
is it LOO or LOU or LEW?
LOO,
Okay,
like
yeah, no,
looky.
so it 100% means watching someone take a shit there. You heard it here first,
Oh,
folks. If there's one thing
oh,
that we have reliably established through independent journalism on this
mhm,
podcast,
yeah.
it is that a looky-loo is a British person who watches somebody take a shit, Chuck Berry style.
All right. Yeah. That's why we should all be supporting local journalism or independent journalism.
Yeah,
Excuse me, this
it's
isn't local
local if
to
you're
NBC.
listening. It's local wherever you're listening.
Right. I'm under your bed right now. um, no, so it also describes the medium. Uh, the what ghosts? What did I say? Ghosts of Britain. Uh,
Mhm.
the
Gob.
go- the ghosts of Britain medium as a former Real Housewives of Cheshire star.
Oh, come on. They take all our fucking shit.
Right.
They always have a worse version. Real Housewives of Cheshire, that's got to be what? All right, Real Housewives of London, that's their Real Housewives of New York. They don't have an
Right.
LA. So
Yeah.
they don't have a Real Housewives of LA.
No.
Real Housewives of
No.
Cheshire, that's their like what? Real Housewives of fucking like Salt Lake City? I mean, it's definitely
Right.
not at the level of Real Housewives
Yeah.
of Atlanta.
You're
That's good.
right. You're
I fucking love
right.
Real Housewives is great. I fucking love that show.
Dude, I don't think I've seen a single episode.
Oh my god. If I would love to start if I had the time to start another podcast,
We do a Real
uh
Housewives.
I would 100% start a Real Housewives podcast if I could just find a person to do it with. It's so good. I
All
actually haven't
right.
watched that much of it. I've watched it with my wife, and every
Uh,
episode is amazing. And usually I don't like any of the other reality shows.
yeah. Well, here I'm putting it in my notes app. Real Housewives.
I would start
Which
with
one?
I think it's Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills is what I would start with. You get
Okay.
to see
Beverly
Kelsey
Hills.
Grammer go through a divorce.
Mm,
He's at fault. Spoiler alert for a divorce that happened 10 years ago
you
from a
don't say.
star of Frasier.
Kelsey Grammer
Yeah,
had some problems.
not to get us off track because I know we're usually kind of laser
Color me
focused on this
shocked.
show. Uh, you know what my problem with Kelsey Grammer is? It
What's
People talk about him like fucking Beethoven sometimes, where they're like, he's troubled in his personal life and he has every opinion he's ever given is super garbage, but he's better at like not giving them. But he's so talented. But he's known for being in like Frasier and like Sideshow Bob, both of which are good characters. But like, I don't know. I mean, let's put it in perspective a little bit, right?
yeah. No, I agree.
I just don't think
Yeah.
he's done anything bad enough.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Yeah. I
It's got to be
mean,
the strategy. Just do a series of kind of bad things.
right. Right. Yeah. I think it like crashed his car, while he was fucked up and was fucked up at a play and fell off stage. And
That's fine. That you only
yeah,
well, that's if I went to that play, who could fucking complain about that? If I went to that play to see Kelsey Grammer and I went on and I saw him hammered and fall off of that stage, that's a story for life. I have something to talk about at work the next day.
no,
I have something to talk about years down the line. Anytime someone mentions
yes,
Frasier.
yeah, yes. As far as I'm concerned, anytime one goes to see a play, that is like the best case scenario, is that the star was fucked up and fell off the stage.
Specifically, the star that's known
you're
like
hoping for. Yeah.
Specifically, the star that's a person who's known like in Hollywood that you can tell people about, not like your Broadway stars. I know we have a lot of theater people who listen. That's cool, but like,
right. Well, and not
I saw
right,
Al Pacino in Merchant of Venice. Right, it was fucking amazing. It was incredible.
Yeah.
If Al Pacino went out Doc Ellis style tripping balls, it would be a much better story.
Yeah. We were right. And you definitely, if you happen to be a parent, uh, and your kids in like their school play, yes, you certainly don't want the lead star of the high school play being fucked up and falling off the stage. But yeah,
I don't know about that.
No, I guess I'm not a parent, so
I was in the high school theater, and let me tell you, you got to suffer for your craft. The amount of old people makeup I put on, and yes, maybe we did go a little hard at Paul's Diner and TGI Fridays, but you do what you have to do.
Yeah. No, but if you're going to see a play and I don't know, Paul Reiser is the star. and he is fucked up and falls off the stage, like I think you've won the like going to the theater lottery then. Like
That would
that's
be
what
good.
you're hoping for. I swear we were talking about something else before this. Oh,
Ghosts? Yeah, ghosts in a
right.
pub.
Right. Okay. So here we'll plow through the rest of this. Yeah, so the Real Housewives of Cheshire, excuse me, / Ghosts of Britain, Hunter. Debbie, did the EVP, electronic voice phenomenon recording, said it was the most chilling. Advised Mr. Ramsey, the owner, landlord, caretaker, to not be alone in the pub. There apparently she determined, probably by Googling, that a young girl died there 200 years ago due to murder. So there's one of the ghosts. There was
that's easy though.
Yeah.
Because you just tell her, listen, young girl died there 200 years ago. You say, listen, I understand what you went through. It's horrible. But it's not Victorian times anymore. The drinking age is 18. So I'm going to need you to show some ID or get the fuck on out of here.
Yeah. Oh, you think that's, yeah?
Yeah, just kick him out. This is a fuck. You cannot tolerate that shit as a pub owner.
Nigel, here's an amazing quote. If we ever do merch, right? This should be like the first, this should be on a t-shirt.
All right. I want to hear
it. In describing this girl's death 200 years ago at the pub, Mr. Ramsey said they found that she had perished to death.
Wow. What a crack team of invest. Don't we all? That's what we should change the name of this show to: Perishing to Death.
Perish to death.
Or you just listen, you just put it on with us every week.
Right.
Whatever 2 hours of your life or whatever.
It's perishing to death. Yeah, so like we've been going along, so I'll just sum it up. Yeah, so dude, there's this ghost. Another person died in 1821 there. Yeah, so this dude got his ass kicked by a ghost, and some sort of D-list UK celebrity ghost hunter slash Real Housewife backs up his story. So I'm sold. This actually, this is actually answers like I was curious about ghosts. So
Mhm.
where do you stand on like the idea of ghosts? But just
Um,
briefly, like,
you know, I think it's very possible that they're out there.
mhm,
I'm not gonna. I've definitely felt different. Like I think there is. You can feel a place being haunting when you're
mhm,
at it, and you can feel a level of a certain type of energy at a place. This is how it feels
yeah,
in the Tower
mhm,
of London.
mhm,
It's how I'd imagine a number of other places that feel this way.
yeah,
Old battlefields and like old Civil War battlefields feel this way.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, but I can't speak to like, is that an individual ghost? Is that a group of ghosts? Uh, who knows?
right, right, yeah,
I will say
no,
one thing. If
mm,
they are if that is a child ghost, though, if that is true and there are real child ghosts out there, why is it that the only child ghost that isn't a fucking asshole is Casper?
oh, oh, I don't know, yeah,
I think that every child ghost should have to watch the day to day life of a person in their early 50s, and they'll probably feel a bit better.
I don't. I'm not up on my Casper lore. Do they ever go into what Casper died of?
I think he died in a car. I think he got hit by a car or
Ugh.
polio. It might have been polio. It was back in the day.
Yes, either a car or pulley.
Yeah, what are those two things? Nature's car, some might say.
Right, right. Um, no, generally, yeah. No, I get what you're saying, and I tend to agree that, like, yeah, yeah. I've definitely been places that have like a off feeling, but I guess what I was curious, like, right, like, and we've had a couple other like ghost stories on the show, and people see, well, they claim like, well, there's this headless phantom, and it's floating around the halls, and I screamed and ran away. But I always wondered, like, what I get that, like, okay, you're getting up in the middle of the night, take a piss, and there's a headless guy in the hallway. Yeah, that's really fucking scary. But like, are you in danger? Like,
Yeah, that's what I always wonder.
what are they gonna do? And this story sort of answers that question in that, well, they'll kick your ass.
Yeah, no, they could knock a bunch of shit over in the house. If you look at the fuck, which hold on, I think the Bell Witch. Let me just confirm that this is what it's called. I didn't expect to bring this up on the
Yeah.
show.
Again, like, while you're looking it up, like, yeah, to reiterate, this dude, like, was put in the hospital
Oh
with
yeah,
a brain
100%. A fucking
yeah,
pipe.
like, he got his ass kicked.
It's possible that a pipe falling on your head and you getting a brain injury might explain, some of this, now it was a ghost shit. But no, if you look up the Bell Witch haunting, I mean, like a
Mhm.
ghost will like can beat the shit out of you if some of that shit is real. Because also, like, yeah, if it starts with them like knocking, I mean, I guess even the idea is if it starts with them knocking over books, eventually they're gonna knock a bookshelf on you. And like, I'm just looking around my office right now.
Oh, yeah.
There are plenty of things in here that if they just full on fell on me, I'd be paralyzed or killed.
No, actually, you're right. And isn't that, not to spoil a almost 40-year-old movie? The movie Ghost. Have you seen it with Patrick Swayze and
Where he fucks a woman while all I know is that he fucks a woman while making pottery.
yes, but
And then I think
well, yeah,
like,
like he's spoiler alert, he ends up being a ghost, and
okay.
he ends up killing
Yeah, well
the
that's
killer.
foreshadowing. That's foreshadowing for real life.
Yeah, yeah, no, but yes, he eventually like kills the villain, the guy who set him up to die. Um, by learning to use like his ghost powers. So I guess there is, at least like film precedent. The idea is out there that like a ghost can kill you. But yeah, I was always curious.
Well, that's why Casper, a lot of people don't know this. Casper got revenge on the drunk driver that killed him, and he gave FDR
Oh,
polio.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
It was a
Boy,
it was
that's
an
not
episode,
bad.
a controversial episode.
Yeah, yeah. And then Disney Plus pulled it.
Is Casper a Disney owned by Disney? They can't have Casper. I feel like they shouldn't
I
get the
have
shitty
no,
ones.
I have no idea.
I think
It
Disney
wasn't
specifically should
like a
not get to.
comic book in the 30s.
I think it's from the 30s.
Yeah,
I think
that's what.
everything was like a bubble gum comic, I think, that was
Right,
also a
right.
baseball card. My understanding in the 1930s is that the two forms of entertainment were sitting in a movie theater for anywhere between 5 minutes and 19 hours, and some
Right.
combination of gum and baseball cards that were also comics, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're a kid, maybe if you're a kid like rolling a hoop with a stick down the street for some reason.
Yeah, they used to play stickball. That's what my grandpa used to tell me. And then they would
Mm,
wonder, why don't you guys play in the middle of the fucking streets of New York anymore?
right. Why aren't you hitting baseballs down the street where like dozens of cars are parked?
But like, oh my god,
And that's why I'm associate producer.
that's how Jason saving the show from a whole long act of of us not recording, and already assisting the show. I mean, 2 stories in a row, done by Jason. The reason for that, normally we'd switch them off, but you guys might have noticed the change in pattern. It's okay. It's okay. I know you need us for your routine. It's okay.
Uh-huh.
I promise we're not going anywhere. Uh, unless it helps us sell NFTs, in which case, Jason, I think it's got to be you. I think it's
Yes.
going to be more tragic when I die, but it'll be sadder in the long term when you do.
Yeah, I feel like when I go, people will be like, man, that sucks, but you kind of saw it coming. What, why that son of a bitch kept carrying AR-15s to into MRI appointments? He was just asking for it.
Oh my god. Uh yeah, but anyway, we've got a big story to talk about this week, which is we're going to talk about UAPs, aka UFOs, UFO disclosure, the gutting of the Schumer Amendment and the UAP Disclosure Act. I told you, Jason, I had a
Now,
big story to
sorry,
talk about.
you did. Remind me what UAP stands for?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked because UAP means unidentified anomalous phenomenon. It used to mean
Hmm,
unidentified aerial phenomena, but that's changed. And both of these have replaced
okay.
UFO. Uh, so the idea is that when people say UFO, if something's unidentified, let's start with the word object even, you don't necessarily know that it's an object, right? It could be a trick of light.
Right.
It could be some radar not working. Or if you want to get
Uh-huh.
wooey wooey with it, it could be a ghost. It could be,
Right.
you
Mhm.
know, it could be
Astral
some form of
projection.
hologram. It could be holograms sent from underwater. It could be holograms from another dimension. I could make shit
Right.
up all day. That's what
Yeah.
unidentified means.
Yeah.
Even flying. Do you actually know that it's flying? It could be. Oftentimes, we know that things are mirages.
Mhm.
If it's things transporting and blinking in and out of dimensions to teleport, maybe not even here, just through here. Does
Right.
that really count as flying, or is it a form of transportation we don't know about?
Right.
These are
Right.
all questions that, by definition of unidentified, we don't know the answer to. So,
Right. Mhm.
unidentified anomalous phenomena makes the most sense.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, because if it's not identified, you don't know that it's flying. You definitely don't know that it's an object. So UAP is the best term.
Sure.
Uh, Now, just to get us to where we are now with the UAP Disclosure Act and with the Schumer Amendment and sort of a lot of what happened this week, we're getting into, man, I wish our video was working this week. I know we're having some connection issues because I'd be putting on my newsboy cap because we're going to be talking about maybe we're going to be talking a bit about Congress. Uh, but before we do that, I just wanted to get into what happened in the past couple of years in UAP discussion, and particularly this
Yeah.
year. The big highlight,
Mhm.
obviously, was Air Force officer and former intelligence official David Grush's congressional testimony, and the
Mhm.
broader sense and the broader series of congressional UFO hearings. Now, if you didn't watch the
Right.
many, many hours of C-SPAN in which Grush was interviewed, here are just a few of the claims that he made under oath. I'm not, we're not making any claims as to the veracity of any of it. He claimed
Right.
that the
Right.
U.S.
We just report. We just report. We have no
This is
opinion.
something that somebody said under oath in Congress, in C-SPAN. I mean, I think people know that this is not a news show, but I just want to be very clear that we're
Yeah.
not necessarily saying that any of this is true. We're just saying that he said it under oath uh, in Congress. He
Right.
said that the U.S. government has a spacecraft recovery program. That said spacecraft
Mhm.
recovery program has alien ships and their dead pilots. That
Mhm.
Mussolini's government recovered an alien ship in the 1930s. That the Vatican
Mhm.
and the multilateral Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, which included the U.S., Australia, I think the UK, basically a bunch of and two other non-Soviet countries, but
Uh-huh.
that alliance moved said ship to the United States in the 1940s. And most importantly, that in the service of covering all of this up, U.S. citizens have been threatened and even killed by the government. Uh,
Yeah.
now, un- now, until we get a level of disclosure that we can verify any of this, I think
Mhm.
Rush is going to continue to be a fairly controversial figure. Uh,
Mhm.
Getting these sorts of claims made under oath in that way, it was sort of the first time to see that happen. But obviously,
Right.
they are very they're intriguing but very fantastical, I would say.
Mhm. And I also want to chime in and say that what the Five Eyes agreement,
Mhm.
that is an awesome name for an agreement.
No, and
That
that is a
that's
real thing, I
some
think.
like Marvel, yeah, like the Marvel verse like level. Uh yeah, I work for Five Eyes.
Yeah.
No,
Well, Marvel
beautiful.
did steal
Perfect.
all their best stuff from the CIA in the movies, so
Well, yeah.
we're coming in spicy today. Uh, yeah. So I mean, he's a controversial figure. The claims are fairly salacious. It feels a lot like a movie. But
Mhm.
obviously, he is somebody who has real credentials, who went through
Right.
proper channels, who made these claims
Mhm.
under oath. One thing that doesn't necessarily help his credibility is that he's gone on to do a number of interviews to sources of varying levels of credibility, ranging from Vice to Joe Rogan to I think places that might be a bit further afield than that. Uh,
And yet
where
not all. Not us.
Not us yet. Not us yet.
N-
David, come on the
Yeah, not
show.
us.
We will
Yeah.
have you on.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't
No.
imagine why he doesn't want
Love
to
to
be
hear
on
his
this show.
thoughts. Yeah. No.
Uh, if you want to see intelligence, David, wait until you come up against minds like us.
Right. Mhm.
Uh, but on these shows, he's made a series of no longer under oaths comments. About things like extra dimensional travel and stuff like that. It
Right.
doesn't necessarily lend a lot of credibility. Uh,
Mm.
I have more mixed feelings on David Grush than I would have ordinarily somebody making the same claims as David Grush, right?
All right.
Because I
Yeah.
do
Mhm.
think the fact that he's making them under oath, does show a level of. I mean, that in and of itself, I think, grants a level of credibility that he's not perjuring himself.
Right. Like he must clearly believe this. Right. Like
He
he
believes it, or he's
he
taking a
has
big risk.
reasons to think that. Yeah. Right. Right.
Or it could be that he's making these more outlandish claims because if the government did want to pursue that he was perjuring himself, they'd have to disclose information. Um, that's another
Oh.
possibility. Or it could just be that
Oh,
he's
you're right.
lying
Yeah.
for press or publicity or money. But I
Mhm.
don't, I don't get.
Right.
I don't know. Like I think that he comes off as more credible to be doing this level of grift. Because if you're a former
Mhm.
intelligence official, you could, just sell fucking bullshit cybersecurity advice to companies for,
Right.
hundreds of
Right.
thousands of
Mhm.
dollars a year. Like
Right.
those people do well for themselves. There are much easier
Yeah, that makes sense.
grifts.
Yeah. Maybe he just
Uh,
wanted to meet Joe Rogan.
I mean, that could be it as well. I'll
I
sell
mean,
out
who
to meet
wouldn't?
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I think we're about the same height.
Joe, come on the pod.
Joe, yeah, we'll lend you some publicity, Joe.
Right.
I think you need a boost.
Mhm.
Uh,
Give you that UNT bump. Literally dozens of people.
Literal dozens of listeners can come to
Well,
your podcast, Mr. Rogan. You come on this show, you have me on your show and or UFC.
Hmm.
I could do some commentary. I just say, look, he's punching that guy too hard, or he's punching that guy not hard enough. I think people would like to hear that.
Right. Yeah.
But until we
Oh,
get to be,
when you said go on UFC, I thought you meant like compete.
oh, we could,
And
we
I
could fight
thought, well,
each
that's
other.
cool. Yeah. Oh, okay. Uh,
Yeah, man. That
yeah. I think I I you could probably talk me into doing a UFC fight. Like I'm a pretty like chill, pacifist leaning guy, but
well,
I
UFC.
don't
I mean,
know. I,
it's I don't know. I don't get this argument that like my mom hated like any form of MMA. Like I used to sneak watching it as a
yeah.
kid,
Hmm.
and it was the only sport I really liked to watch. And she'd be like, "No, it's like violent. Like, why are you watching that?" But like to me, it's like these are people fighting each other who are agreeing to fight each other within rules. Like people are like there are health risks, but the damage is about
Right.
what you see in the NFL, and
Yeah.
it just seems to me that it's not really violence, because to me the problem with violence is that people don't agree to it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
All of which is to say that we should fight each other on UFC, uh,
Okay.
or just do some sort of street fight as a potential Patreon bonus. Let us know. We'll Jello
Right.
wrestle. Uh,
Depending on the flavor of Jello.
but that's
Uh-huh.
not what we're doing today.
Oh,
Because we're not
sorry.
just
Yeah.
talking about we're talking about the year in UFOs.
Yes.
David Grush gave his testimony.
Right.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
debatable how credible the testimony was, because he seems to have a lot of credibility as far as his credentials, but also the claims feel very salacious and very made for TV. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's what's made me more skeptical of it, because I've always felt like the government is keeping secrets about this stuff, probably involving alien life, but whatever it is, it's not going to be like something out of a movie.
Right.
Um,
Right. Uh-huh.
but he's not the only person that testified. It's not the only thing that we saw. We also saw the Tic Tac video.
Hmm.
I think at a more widespread scale. Now that originally leaked back in 2021 on I think in a CBS interview, if I
Mm.
recall. And
Okay.
you can watch the video pretty much anywhere. It's two pilots in 2004 chasing what appears to be or several Air Force pilots chasing what appears to be a sort of tic tac like object. What they're calling a UFO, we would now call a UAP, through the
Hmm.
sky. They it doesn't seem to be like any technology that exists, on Earth. I'm not, I'm by no means an aerospace expert or anything like that. Uh,
Yeah.
and the only like skeptical explanations I've heard have been things like it's a weather balloon, which don't seem particularly. I mean, I think that pilots of that level of experience know what a balloon is.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
tend to agree with that.
and my opinion on it, and we encourage our audience to watch the Tic Tac video. Uh,
Mhm.
my opinion on the Tic Tac video is that if it was our military, this is from 2004. If it was our military who had that, another country would have found out the hard way.
Right.
If
Mhm.
another military had that in 2004, we would have found out the hard way by now.
Mhm.
And I don't think any of the explanations that otherwise really make a lot of sense or hold a lot of water. So, it does seem like something extraterrestrial is a fairly plausible explanation at this point.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I think it really has made a lot of this stuff a lot more mainstream.
Mhm.
That testimony
Yeah.
came from under oath from David Fravor, who also testified in Congress during the hearings.
Mhm.
Uh, he comes off as a very conservative former military guy. He doesn't make the sort of claims that Grush is making. He's just making a claim of, this is what I saw. Here's the video. The government needs to
Mhm.
look into this and be transparent about it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have there's been a kind of broader acceptance of, I think, a couple of core facts that have led to a broader acceptance of this. And it's essentially this idea that we know that a lot of people have had encounters like this, at least dating back to Roswell, even if a lot of
Uh-huh.
those encounters are not necessarily true or have other explanations. We
Sure.
know that the government has looked into it. That's all fairly well documented. There is a great book right now out uh, that I don't have in the room with me. So I can't read the authors. Actually, I might have it in the room with me. 1 second. Yeah, I do have it in the room with me. It is
Oh, thank
UFO.
God.
I was waiting with bated breath too. UFO by Garrett M. Graff, the inside
Yeah.
story of the U.S. government's search for alien life here and out there. Which basically just chronicles the various government programs looking into this stuff, all of which have been fairly well documented and have had some degree of declassification over the years. We also know that the government has likely come back and lied about it a number of times because the government lies about shit all the time, sometimes for national security reasons, sometimes for political reasons, sometimes just to fucking test how well they can lie about something this week. And this is especially true during the Cold War when a lot of this shit was really going on in full force.
Right.
So as more people have come forth about this, we've also seen a greater push politically as well. I think another piece of that is
Right. I
that
was going to say, like, yeah, I was going to say the upshot of all this is that um, that now we see like legislatures, uh, legislators taking this like much more seriously,
yeah,
right? Like this is like their actual discussions about transparency legislation and
if
in
you're
a
a
way
U.S.
that
sitting U.S. senator now, it's not seen as
yeah
like a it's gone from being something that would lead to total ridicule to something that
yeah
was seen as like kind of a quirky side thing to something with a lot more
right
mainstream
yeah
interest now.
exactly yes
I mean, I think that if I think the nature of how much of this stuff people feel like they don't know makes that the case, and a more cynical interpretation as well. I will say, with so many of the
hmm
cover-ups being alleged in the 1940s, 1950s, is that while we do have an extremely elderly political class, we are kind
uh-huh.
of officially at the point where all of those people are dead. Because people forget that when Barack Obama entered office 13 years ago, Robert fucking Byrd was still president pro tempore of the
Right.
Senate.
Yeah, and that motherfucker's 220 years old.
Yeah, for real. We still have a lot of old fucks in the Senate, but not old fucks that would be, in terms of the worst allegations, would probably not be implicated. Biden, well, it was part of that post Watergate generation that entered office. Those
Right.
fucking, quote unquote young guys at the time. I think Chuck
Yeah.
Schumer entered office, if I remember, in the 80s or 90s. He's now
hmm
the senator from New York and the Senate Majority Leader, the Democratic
Yeah.
leader.
hmm
And back in July, Schumer proposed a bill to declassify government records regarding UAPs as an addendum to the National Defense Authorization Act. Because if you want anything
hmm
done in this country, the way to do it historically is to tack it on to shit like the buying more guns and making sure the private gun companies get their money's bill. Uh,
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
just a few quick facts. This legislation was modeled on 1992 legislation disclosing JFK assassination records, and it had bipartisan support. So you had fellow Democrats like Kirsten Gillibrand and Martin Heinrich, but you also had Republicans like Marco Rubio, Todd Young, and Mike Rounds.
Right.
The previous Democratic Senate leader, the late Harry Reid, was also
Uh-huh.
a major UAP disclosure advocate, which Schumer's office noted in a
hmm
press release about the bill. That being said, there was a lot less political appetite for that during Reed's lifetime. I think he died in 2020 or 2021 or something like that, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Who knows when Harry Reid
Yeah.
died?
We'll
It's
say that.
literally impossible to find out.
Right. Right. Can't possibly.
Yeah. But he was a UAP disclosure advocate. He was also the senator from Nevada, so this was definitely an area with a high rate of sightings that he
hmm
was from.
Yeah.
Now, what
Absolutely.
Schumer said
hmm
about the legislation in the press release was, quote, the American public has a right to learn about the technologies of unknown origins, non-human intelligence, and unexplainable phenomena. He said that the legislation would provide
hmm
a path for disclosure and a pipeline for future research. Uh, Here's how it would work.
hmm
So if the Schumer amendment were implemented in full and not the version that's being proposed now, it would have mandated
hmm
something called the UAP records collection. This is where everything on this goes from at least as far back as Roswell. Every government office would have to go through their records and find anything that they think would fit into this collection.
hmm
Uh, the collection would itself come with an understanding of immediate disclosure. Uh, so along with records collection, there would be an independent UAP records review board who would have to
Okay.
review requests from agencies for postponement of disclosure of their UFO records.
Hmm.
After the board makes their decision, the sole authority to concur with or overturn it lies with the president. Uh, the timeline of the policy is such that every record would need to be made public within 25 years of the law being enacted, unless the president continues to certify that the release is harmful. Uh,
Okay.
Another aspect of the act, which I think has stirred up a lot of speculation regarding its defeat, is
Hmm.
that per the original version of the Schumer Amendment, and this has specifically been gutted, the government would have eminent domain over any and all tech or evidence of alien life that may be in the hands of private individuals or private companies in the
Oh.
interest of public good. So,
Yeah. So it would authorize the government to what, impound, sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Commandeer, uh, like
seize. It would be
anyone
it's
else's.
now a government. It's a de facto government
See,
act.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the moment that the
Yeah,
government
yeah,
finds out that you have, and it's not really individuals, I think that people are I mean, I think that, it's possible. I
yeah,
think more
companies, yeah,
likely, yeah, and specifically,
hmm,
I mean, Lockheed Martin,
yeah,
like any of these
mhm,
aerospace and defense
right.
companies, like I think that
Boy
speculate
Scouts of
like sort of the
America,
conspiracy,
yeah,
100% the Boy Scouts. How do you think they make that fucking popcorn so fast?
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Keep an eye on those.
yeah, so I mean, the idea is and we'll get into opposition to the bill, but
Mhm,
if the the conspiracy and this is what I'm getting into, where like a lack of disclosure inherently leads to conspiracy theories, because you can look at that
mhm,
provision being removed, and you can look at the fact that a lot of the key opponents of the bill in both Congress and the Senate, Republicans like
mhm,
Mike Turner, Mike Rogers, Mitch McConnell, and the new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who the last one is
right,
probably just worried that the aliens will have access to a secret technology that lets his son and each other know when they jerk off in a Denny's bathroom or
uh-huh,
whatever the fuck.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, but
mhm,
regardless, I think most of these people come from districts with a lot of aerospace industry presence, receive a lot of funding from
right,
various private
mhm,
aerospace and military contracting companies. Um,
and they're on, like, defense aligned committees, right? If I'm kind of familiar with what you're talking about. Like,
I believe so.
some of the people holding it up, yeah, they're on the man, I should probably know this about my own government. Whatever,
Yeah,
like, defense.
yeah, the defense committees. Yeah,
Yeah,
the in
yeah,
the House and
yeah,
the Senate. Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Um, Now there are still in the current version of the National Defense Authorization Act
mhm,
provisions for UAP disclosure. Uh, this at least as of Thursday night when I was looking at all of this shit. We record on Friday. Shit changes all
yeah,
the fucking time, so who knows.
right, who knows?
Uh, the big shift is the removal of the review board. So every record
Mhm,
has 25 years to be made public and can only stay private if the president 25 years from now decides that it's a matter of public interest. The review board does not make any decision. So it's all going to be up to President
okay,
Jojo Siwa to decide what we're going to know. Uh,
mhm,
Needless to say, the lack of an independent board does make a lot of people worried. And along with that, the eminent domain provisions have been removed. So we're getting a much more,
right,
limited version of disclosure. The government's going to get a lot more control over it than you would have in theory with an independent review board. Um,
right, mhm,
and we're removing a lot of the target towards the potential public benefit over private benefit, and we wouldn't even necessarily get to know which companies would even have access to any of this stuff if the public benefit, if the eminent domain provision being removed is even relevant, right? You only know
right,
if
right,
it's enacted.
right, right, yeah, yeah, I think I get, yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, you've seen. I mean, so this is as of this week. I just think it's really interesting a lot of what's going on in this world.
mhm,
Uh, One thing that I think is really of note here is you hear this idea talked about a lot of catastrophic versus controlled disclosure. So both versions of of the Schumer Amendment are what would be a version of what's called controlled disclosure, where there's a process for records getting released. Certain records could be held up if they're deemed too harmful to the public. Um,
okay,
and there could be some degree of protection for people like whistleblowers. There
sure,
might be
yeah,
protection for people who have implicated themselves in crimes in the service of
right,
any cover up, that sort of a thing. What
yeah,
opponents of things like the Schumer Amendment like to bring up is this idea of catastrophic disclosure, which is to say that whatever is out there is so bad that it would cause such societal chaos that we just could never release it and we should just leave it private, whether for national security reasons or for gravity of the knowledge. So ideas that you'll see brought up is either that the government has knowledge that might invalidate major religions or
Oh.
things like that. But or just put our
Mhm.
own role in the universe into scale. I don't really. I mean, I guess what do you think about that idea?
Yeah. I, so, yeah, I don't know. Like, I really don't. Um, I guess I understand the yeah, and any revelations around this, right? Like that we're not alone, that an advanced,
Mhm.
technologically advanced like species has been coming here. Like, yeah, of course that's going to be like a huge sort of paradigm shift, and like, yeah, like we really have to like rethink everything as a species that we think about ourselves. But
I
I
don't think it
also
would.
don't
I
think
don't think it'd be
like
that big of a deal. I mean, I think
really.
that I think as far as like catastrophic, like I think people are very adaptable to new information. So as far as
No,
like
no.
catastrophic
Yes, I
disclosure
agree.
goes,
Yeah. Mhm.
like I think any of the major religions will adapt, or already have mechanisms. I mean, speaking of my own religion as Judaism, like I can't think of much that would be revealed in this scenario that things would change. I guess the point being that people will adapt, or you'll have fundamentalists who won't adapt, but they'll be good at just saying that no, whatever we found out is not real. Um, people.
Right. And yeah, and there's always people that just won't adapt to anything. No matter like people that don't adapt to like television,
Yeah, I mean, I think.
right? Like there'll always be sort of holdouts,
Yeah,
if
well, and
that's the right word. Yeah.
I mean, if the question is like, I mean, unless people are having like an alien as their neighbors, which I don't think even the craziest people are like claiming is going to happen. I just don't think there'd be riots in the streets. I think most people,
Right. Well, I think the point I was trying to make, to the best of my recollection, was that like, yeah, I think it would be maybe like an initial shock, but I also think like who even with for something of that scale, like the president and Congress, like why do they get to gatekeep this?
yeah. Well,
So I'm
and I
sort of
also,
agreeing with you, like that, like yeah, people will adapt. You know what I mean? Like the idea that like the president say has final say on what's revealed or isn't. Like I don't, I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
how I
no,
feel about that. I feel, yeah, like
no, it's
that,
totally
yeah, we
against the
should just
spirit of
know. We
transparency.
should just be told.
Yeah, it's totally against the spirit of
Yes,
transparency. And I
exactly.
also think, and then I am, I also think that people talk about catastrophic disclosure, but when you have no transparency and no disclosure, you could fill in literally
Yes.
anything you want, right? So
Right. Right.
we could sit here and make shit up all day about what's happening. We could dispute is what David Grush said true,
Mhm.
like if ever, like or
And,
not or
and,
whatever.
and
Like
to be fair, we do kind of make things up on this
yeah,
podcast, but yeah.
I've been sitting. We sit here and make things up all day. We tell you all the time we're making shit up. It releases me from any liability for this later. I hope.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, I guess. So what I'm saying is that if you tell people the truth, and there's always going to be people who say no, that's not actually true, but it's good. You're going to get a hell of a
Right.
lot further than
Hmm.
sort of seeing how far you can take the lie. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and I think we should close up because I have a bunch of latkes to make. Happy Hanukkah, everyone, by the way. Uh,
Oh
before we
yeah. Happy
do,
Hanukkah. Yeah.
thank you. Before we do, I have a few housekeeping notes for the pod. Number one, you can be a part. You already heard the ad at the beginning, but you can be a part of our New Year's special, r/slash Underworld News Pod. Check it out. It's going to be
Hmm.
a lot of fun. Just go ahead, post the big stories of the year. We will talk about them on the special. We can read your Reddit handle unless you say don't read it on it. I guess would probably be the best way to get us not to
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead and do that and follow us on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok as Underworld News Tonight. And I will be on
Yeah.
the Swamp Talk Christmas special, yucking it up with the Dillon Street Boys over at Swamp Talk on December 25th. I'll be over there. I guess I guess they had to pick the Jewish guy because they knew I was available.
Yeah.
No, we actually record it before. It's the secret of podcasting.
Oh man. Now you ruined it for me.
Wouldn't it be crazy if every time somebody listened to this show, we had to do a little like live podcast for them right then and there?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be crazy. That would take like literally minutes out of my week.
I know we would spend probably an hour or so a week.
If I had to be like, yeah, hey Jennifer, thanks for listening.
Yeah, no, I'm saying we'd have to actually recite the podcast verbatim, like as they're listening.
Oh,
When they pause, we rewind, stuff like that. We're actually trapped in.
Oh, like yeah. Oh man.
Anyway, you can help get us out by sharing this
Black Mirror
podcast.
episode. Sorry, I stepped on you. Yeah, please.
No, I've been stepping on you all day. You said it sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
Maybe reality's become a Black Mirror episode, some would say. Isn't that deep?
Yeah, something to think about.
That's something no one said before on the internet or ever. I've only watched the first episode of Black Mirror where he fucks the pig. I wasn't interested after that.
I can understand that. Hit or miss. I think I've seen.
Well, he hit the pig, I think.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Did he actually go through with it? I don't remember. You know what? This isn't a Black Mirror recap podcast. But,
yeah, do that. Listen to our upcoming sister show. Did he come in the pig?